Files at the Dardanelle Library. I want to talk to you about some of adult books that we've gotten in recently. Some that I've read, some that I haven't. But the first one I want to talk about is John Grisham's A Time for Mercy. If you're familiar with the Grisham stories that take place in Clanton, Mississippi, you've probably read A Time to Kill and possibly Sycamore Road. These are in the same town with the same characters as A Time for Mercy. I wouldn't necessarily say that they're a series. They do refer back and forth to each other just a little bit, but there is no reason you can't read these on your own individually. These all stand alone. A Time for Mercy is a dilemma that the attorney is in because a young man protecting his mother has killed her boyfriend. Well, it turns out that the boyfriend is a very popular police officer in the town of Clanton. There you go. You got a dilemma. And it is a very good book. It brings out a lot of the characters in the community, and you find out about how tough you have to be if you're defending somebody who is practically undefendable. So A Time for Mercy is one that we have on the shelf right now. We have it in large print. We have it in regular print. We've got quite a few copies. You will need to get on a reserve because I know that there are a lot of these that have been checked out recently. So get your name on the list for A Time for Mercy. The next one I want to talk about is the one that we just completed as our book club book for this month. This is A Book of Lost Friends. The Book of Lost Friends is written by Lisa Wingate. If you read Before We Were Yours, this is the same author. She also wrote a number of series previous to Before We Were Yours, but this is her next full-length novel that has come after that. This is a story of a young lady who was born into a plantation during slavery, and her master's family member has stolen away several of the slaves and their families and is taking them to Texas and reselling them. Along the way, they're getting completely separated, but by the time the story's over, we have had the Civil War and all of the slaves are free. And so it's time for them then, Haney, our main character, to go back and start trying to find her family. And along the way, she finds out a lot of things about a kind of an underground system for people to find each other in the Old South after the Civil War. It also has another story that's parallel to it taking place in the same town in the early 80s, and it's about a teacher who is trying to inspire her English class to get interested in their history and actually just reading. And so these stories are parallel and they all come together in the end very nicely. I know if you liked Before We Were Yours and the way that Lisa Wingate writes, I think you'll love this story. This book came out last year, probably about February, right before the pandemic started, and it didn't get the checkout that I would have expected it to, but it's a very popular book right now. So I hope that you'll decide to get your name on the list for, or just ask for the Book of Lost Names. I bet we can fill that request. It's a really good book. The next one I want to talk about actually is The Law of Innocence. Michael Conley has written a series called The Lincoln Lawyer. He also writes the Harry Bosch series. And I have not actually read The Law of Innocence, but I have just finished reading all of the other Lincoln Lawyer books. I think there's 5 others. And what an interesting character. He likes to keep his office close to him. He has a driver and he is in the back seat of his Lincoln Town Car. But he's a lawyer in the Los Angeles area, and he's always got some interesting cases going. So if you really like Harry Bosch or the Lincoln Lawyer series, The Law of Innocence is the next one you'll want to read. Okay, the reason I've picked this one to talk about today is that it's this month's book club book. And I have several copies available if anybody would be interested in joining our book club. But Fiona Davis is a real interesting writer. She takes, generally, at least the ones I've read, she takes a landmark building in New York City and builds a story around it. This story takes place in Grand Central Station. Well, Grand Central Terminal. That's brought out in the story. There at one time was an art college in Grand Central Terminal. And the characters that are in this story are all involved in one way or another to the art school. And it also is one of those books that has, in the past, in 1922 up through like 26, and then, well, no, it's 29 because it's the year of the crash. And then it has a more modern day in the 70s. I think it's 73 or 74. And a story that these stories will collide in the end and come out to be a really interesting novel that I think that anybody who is interested in architecture, art, or history will really enjoy this book. This is the masterpiece. And the reason I bring it up is I think you're going to be hearing a lot about Fiona Davis if you follow the Arkansas Reads books. Shh, I didn't tell it. I didn't let the cat out of the bag, but you're going to see a lot of the Lions of Fifth Avenue. So I hope you become familiar with Fiona Davis. I think you'd really enjoy her books. So we have all of these books available right now at the Dardanelle Library. You can check them out from us or anywhere else in the Arkansas River Valley region. You might just check on our website at arvrls.com and you can check our collections and you can put a hold on any of the books that you might be interested in. Hope to see you soon.